You're listening to the Digital Data Cafe podcast, where we talk about everything data-driven in your world. Join us each week to hear from the world's top business and industry leaders on why using data in a digital world matters. Here's your host, Albert Thompson.
Good afternoon. Thank you again, everybody. This is another episode of the Digital Data Cafe. I'm excited. I'm here today. I'm Albert Thompson, CEO of Driven IQ, and I'm with founder, creator, social media guru, specialist, one of a kind startup founder, Kenneth Ma from Area Hype. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. How about yourself?
Oh man, I'm great. I'm excited to be here with you. I mean, we've been talking for some time. Ken, you never cease to amaze me with some of the things that you're doing and you have done in the past. And I listen, I gotta say, it's probably one of the most exciting things about your background is and again, I say this, respectfully, but obviously, right? You're a young entrepreneur that's crushing entrepreneurship. So why don't you tell everybody who's listening your story?
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I look a lot younger than I am. I actually turned 30 this year.
Still young,
But,
still young to me, but you're doing good, man. You're doing good.
Yeah, I don't know. My first journey was when I was 16, right? So 16, this was the time where, everyone's like, hey, eBay's starting to start up really, really well. This was like 2006, 2008. And yeah, I found out about Alibaba and AliExpress. I started importing stuff and selling it. So I would buy stuff for like cell phone cases for like 50 cents, sell it for $5, $6. I would buy iPhone 4 and 4S screen protector, or not screen protectors, LCD digitizers for like $4 and sell it for $20. And it was good until people realized like, hey, I can do that too.
Right.
And so you can see like on eBay, like people start bidding and bidding and bidding. And then people were like, why are all these people bidding for this search result? And then sure enough, like everyone was my competitor. Eventually I had to drop that because, I couldn't buy 100,000 units. Like there's no way I was storing this stuff in my mom's, or actually my parents'
Right.
house in my room.
Right.
And yeah, my parents were like, why do you have so much crap everywhere? Like get rid of it.
What the heck, man? So you're at home at this time and you're buying these digitizers and what, you're stacking up pallets of this stuff?
Yeah. It's just like stacked. Like I had shelves and just like stacked in my room. Parents were really upset and like, why don't you just focus on school? And it was just like, you had that Asian mentality. And I was like, no, I really want to create a business because I realized that was my path to freedom. And I didn't have to have like this restraint where, I'm already making the A's. So like,
Right.
what else do I do? Do you want me to study more for what? Like,
Right.
like I didn't have any intention of doing that. And so that's what I did. And then eventually I got into a couple of brick and mortars, did ice cream shops, did sandwich shops, and just, it was like hit or miss here or there. I made some money.
Yeah.
And then, what do you do with your money? Okay, so either
Right.
you spend it, which I did. Unfortunately, I spent quite a bit of it,
Right.
or you invest, right? So I was just like, okay, I'm so crazy about the stock market. I found things like Logitech when, before it went to like $30, $40, it was like $6, right? These are all penny stocks. I found GoPro at like, it was like $2 and it went to $8. I got Zag, which is, Zag screen protectors for
Sure.
like $2, it went to $10. I got Fitbit for like, it was like $2 and then Google acquired them, went to $8. So slowly it just, made money just being lucky, right? And then, along that time period, Starbucks was about $20, right? So I got Starbucks and then I was like, AMD was like $13. I bought that. And then, fast forward until I think it was like 2020, that's when I started liquidating everything. I had
Wow.
AMD, it was like 13, it went to 108 or 100, it went to like 120 or
Yeah.
150
Yeah.
or
There was
something.
that big
I sold
craze,
like
right? The
108.
increase. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You got in at 13,
Starbucks
sold at
went
108, huh?
yeah. And Starbucks went from like $20, it was like 100, 105, right? So I was like, all right, I'm 100, sell. And then like, as I started seeing these trends, I'm like, if you really just invest in things that, people use on a daily basis, like the odds are you're gonna win, right? Because people are like, hey, I use this all the time. It's like branded everywhere. And then, I was like, those are what I was looking at, right? So, 2019 to, or not 20, was it 2019? 2017 to 2020. I mean, the same thing. Snapchat was $5. Right? It went
Right.
from $5 to like $63. I bought Snapchat and I was like, oh, this is a winner too.
Right.
And it was just because everyone in high school and college at that time, 2017, uh, you know, they're using Snapchat. So I was like, okay, well, like I'm seeing like these like trends, right? And that's essentially where I made a majority of my money.
Well, I will
Uh,
tell you, this, Ken. I mean, it's fascinating. I know you say it's luck, but I'll counter and say it's this. You knew from a young age. I knew from a young age, right? Entrepreneur, right? I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I've known it from day one. I was hustling watches when I was in second grade, right? So, I mean, it's in us, right? So I know you call it luck, but it's a combination of luck and it's foresight and vision, and you've had some of that vision, to do things at the right time, right? So and you've obviously done well, and congratulations to you. So now when you said you went to school, where tell us about your school. Where did you go to school?
yeah, I went to Wichita State. So, most people don't know, where Wichita is, but it's in Kansas. It used to be the air capital of the world where we did all the aircrafts, Boeing, Bombardier, Learjet, Hawker, Beechcraft. I mean, in the past, like early
Right.
2000s, like we were known, but like no one knows anymore.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting school, especially with what you're doing now. So why don't you tell, the listeners, about this, new, startup that you're invested in, and it's obviously going to change the world. I really believe with some of the things I've seen already, it's really impressive, and I don't want to give any of it away. So, tell us a little bit about your company, Area Hype.
Yeah, yeah. So the whole concept around area hype is literally to get paid to live life. You literally create videos, which people are already doing, and you just get paid to do them, right? Like you're already uploading on TikTok, you're already uploading on Snapchat, you're already uploading on Instagram. So as you see people, share content, they like to share real experiences. Why can't they monetize that? Right? So we're in a world where like everything's being monetized. People are trying to make money in their spare time. You have Upwork, Fiverr, you have
Yep.
Uber. Some of these things they're not quite as fun for or engaging for people,
Sure.
right? Like who wants to sit in a car all day and like drive a car, right? I mean, unless you have an interesting passenger,
Right.
it's not really that fun to make, a couple dollars every ride.
That's right.
So we basically take a spin on this and we say, hey, if people can make money for driving cars, why can't they make money for just shooting videos? And anybody can shoot a video. Like you literally pull out your phone, right? Shoot a video, drop it on Area Hype. Other people can see the video because Area Hype essentially drops a location that's tied to the video. And once people see the video, they're like, hey, that's freaking awesome. I didn't know there's a food truck like 5 minutes away,
Right.
right? Food trucks can't advertise. They can't post anywhere. It doesn't make any sense for them to post because it's really expensive. And be as a consumer, I see that video. I'm like, man, I want that chicken, chili chimichanga, whatever chicken thing. And
Right.
all I have to do on Area Hype is click go, and it takes me there.
This is fascinating to me, because when you break it down like that, right? And obviously, I got a 10-year-old daughter. She loves TikTok. I watch TikTok. I consume video. I mean, I think the studies show, video consumption is at an all-time high, and it's projected to continue to grow. So when you stop and you ask yourself, right, and you think about, a lot of the YouTubers, for example, or TikTok, the goal is, right, to become an influencer, and the ultimate end goal, right, is to become this, big superstar to get paid eventually, right? And Ken, what you've really done is you said, hey, listen, why shouldn't everybody get paid to do what they like to do? It just makes good sense. And tell us more about how you envision that happening.
Yeah. So when you think of these platforms, I mean, in most cases, you have to have like 100,000, like for example, YouTube. It
Okay.
used to be you need 1,000 hours watched, 1,000 followers, and then you can start monetizing by ads, right? And then it got a little worse. They changed the policies. Like now we can monetize all your videos, and you don't get paid unless you hit these benchmarks.
Oh,
And then you
okay.
have like Instagram, and then you have Snapchat, TikTok, and it's like, okay, you can monetize, you can repost, you can reshare. Hopefully you go viral. If you go viral, maybe you get followers. And if you get like 100,000 followers, maybe you'll find a business that says, hey, I want to work with you. I want to pay you $3,000 or $4,000 for a post,
Okay.
right? So now you have an issue. Right? You're thinking about legacy marketing. It's like, hey, I'm going to pay all this money up front. I'm going to put these Facebook and Google ads. Hopefully, I'm going to pray I can get 1% conversion rate. And at the
Right.
end of the day, it's a spray and pray. I have no idea what I'm going to get.
That's
Right.
right.
So the same thing happens for these creators on these platforms. It's like, I'm going to pay this person to do a $4,000 post. They have 100,000 followers. Hopefully I get 1%. Right.
Right.
Well, the odds are like, that's not very consistent. So what we did
No.
is we essentially flipped this and we said, hey, with Area Hype, because we have that location tracker and we know that someone actually arrived and we know who's creating the content, like who the user is, well, we can guarantee the result. right?
Yeah.
So if we guarantee the result because they went, and then we charge the businesses, then it's a win for both sides. The creator
Well,
gets paid, they know, they did justice, and the business knows like, hey, someone actually arrived and they're paying after the fact.
you know what's incredible about it, and what I really do think is amazing is, right, is you are literally from end to end closing that attribution loop, right? So you got almost that dual network effect. You've got the creator creating the content, right? That's obviously going to pay them, right, to get more people to engage on that content. And then, they can promote that local food truck, they can promote that local business. But what's even great about it is then that local business will know when and if that transaction happens. And correct me if I'm not doing this justice, but they'll know when that transaction happens. And then at that point, you now have a full return on investment story. You have an attribution story that closes the loop.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's exactly the thing. So it's like if I created a video and let's say you saw my video and you clicked go and you went to, Ken's steak shop and you bought this steak. Well, me as a creator, within the Area Hype network, I get paid instantly, right? Because the network knows like, hey, Ken drove X amount of people going to Ken's steakhouse. And once they go, well, then we charge the business. And then the way we split up is it's really simple, like super straightforward. Everything's transparent. The creator gets 5% of all facilitated transactions. The business gets 90%.
Hmm.
Area Hype takes 2%. And then merchant services is 3%, right? So that's standard,
Yep.
I mean, obviously some merchants can be a little less depending on, when we partner, but in general, the first, merchant that we're probably going to work with is going to be standard 3%. So it's 90% for the business. The creator gets 5%. And that's like, everyone knows what they're paying. Everyone knows what they're receiving. And so when you think of this, like on a small scale, it's like, okay, well, if I'm only like selling $10 or I'm facilitating $10 hamburgers,
Yeah.
right? Well, that adds up and it's reoccurring. But then when you look at the larger picture, it's like, well, what if you look at the housing market and you look at the housing market has, the agent has a broker,
That's right.
right? And so these are like mega high ticket items, like $1 million house, right? They'll show the best Zillow, Instagram like photos, but you actually go in the house, it actually doesn't look like that. There's like cracks in the walls and like things they didn't show you.
That's right.
But now what if we said, hey, get rid of that. You don't have to pay some marketing guy to, make these fake videos. You actually just say, hey, Area Hype gig worker, go create the video. If the house sells, I paid nothing up front for the marketing,
Right.
right? And then the closing process is, okay, Area Hype gig worker is now the agent. I see what the house actually looks like. My house gets sold faster. I can flip houses faster. Zillow's more happy. And all that they have to do is they close the deal, right? As the brokerage, and we don't have to handle that.
Right.
And then the creator, if you sell $1 million home, you get $50,000.
Right.
Right. So that inspires people to create actual, like really good video edited content or create real content that will help businesses. And you can get the best of the best, and you know what you're paying for.
It's really great, man. And if you think about it, and right now, the gig economy, there's a lot of talk about the gig economy. And it's an opportunity, like, to make money and to be able to do what you love to do. But I mean, if you think about it, if I've got a phone in my pocket and I wanted to just go out in the area, I'll be running out everywhere, man. I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna get your hair salon. I'm gonna go get the next restaurant down the street. I'm gonna go get the, this local retail store. And I'm gonna show this item. I mean, at that point, they could just run around their local area and go create a bunch of content. I mean, not that you want, I'm sure you're gonna have some content that you're gonna want, obviously, like you said, to have better investment and quality. But at the end of the day, I'm a gig worker. I can put as much content. If I've got a network that I want to connect, let's say I've got a network of 10,000 people that know me, that trust me, I can monetize my network through this platform. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It's literally taking word of mouth, which is what drives people, and then digitizing it, right? So I may see like an ad on YouTube, and maybe it's for some like local bakery, and I'm like, oh, it's an ad. I don't really care.
Right.
But if you, because I know you, like, hey, Ken, you got to check out this bakery. This place is like legit. And you send me a photo or a video, like this is what the bread looks like, and I'm like, wow. The video says it smells so good and it looks so good. Like, okay, well now the problem is like, where do I go? Like where is that? Right? So I have to spend my own time to figure out where it is. And if it takes too long for me to figure out where it is, well, I'll be like, oh, it's cool, but I'll think about it later. Right. So that's what happens on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. People like look it up, spend some time trying to figure it out, and they're like, oh, it's not even the area, or oh, that already happened, or oh, that's too far.
Yeah.
But now with Area Hype, you see the little button that says go. You just click that, and it'll tell you instantly, like, oh, that's 5 minutes away, or it'll like literally show you it's nearby, and you can change your filters of like, is it nearby? Is it within like 30 minutes or whatever your time frame is? and you just click go, and you just literally just go,
You just go.
and you don't have to look anything up.
You
Yeah.
just go. It's interesting that you said that, especially from the background that I have from a media standpoint, and really following platforms like TikTok. The biggest problem, right, is, I mean, the contextual piece, right, and getting that contextual relevance of, hey, are they really a car shopper, or they're just consuming this video because it looks cool. But then the secondary problem, right, is let's use auto because that's my background, right? So we'll just say auto and data specifically. So like, let's say from automotive perspective, that ability to filter and find it from a local perspective is challenging, right? So specifically automotive dealers find, hey, the TikTok platform being interesting, but how can I really get it in front of the right user at the right time that's relevant? It sounds like Area Hype might be accomplishing a few of those things. And as well, to your point, a referral from someone we trust is instantly more credible than just some random ad from someone I don't trust.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is actually pretty interesting because I actually experienced this in high school, right? So like in high school, I was trying to like make some money. I realized that the car dealerships, they have a thing called bird dogging, where it's like, hey, you take a photo of this car, you go show your friends, and then if someone comes in and buys a car, they gave me $500. It wasn't like a commission, but it was like, hey, I got this referral,
Right.
right? So the same thing works there. Is like my friends trusted me, right? Because they were like, hey, I know Ken, and he recommended I bought this Honda Civic, and it was like this price range. I'm in high school, I can't really afford anything. And so you literally just take that. But now you add the layer of like, hey, instead of me just taking a photo, I go in there, I video it, I show like the space in the car, I show like these rims look really cool. Maybe I'll test drive it, right? And then you just share that digitally, right? So
Yeah.
there's no more I'm crumpling up this like photo of this car. It's literally a digital thing. It shows up on their phone. They're like, hey, that's really awesome. And they click go. And then it closes that gap so that now the dealer knows like, hey, this person's coming. They're interested. Maybe they applied through the link. Maybe they didn't, but it closes the whole process. So if they apply through the link, they just show up. Everything's already filled out. I can just give them the keys, let them test drive. And then if they like it, just like buy it right there, right? You
Yep.
don't have to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. You don't have to pay a salesman standing there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours for like, how am I going to close this deal? It's like, you
Right.
already know, like 80%, like mindset, like, oh, they're probably going to buy this one.
Well, I mean, just a quick thought here. And again, just an idea if we're going to keep going down the auto pathway. Because, obviously a lot of the listeners that might be hearing this are dealers specifically. But, what's interesting is sales guys sitting in the lot, they could just do this.
Yeah.
If they're not making calls, they're not working, they could just literally, I'm going to go shoot this car on my lot right now. I'm a sales guy. I'm literally, that's my job, right? It's my job to do this. And now I can use this platform to help to connect the network and also the Area Hype network to get it out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that I think that's going to be phenomenal because they're just sitting there.
Right.
Right. So either you're going to do boring phone calls,
Right.
right? And you hate like I hated doing boring like telemarketing phone calls because like you get like angry people.
Yep.
But now it's like, hey, I'm just shooting a video of this car. Maybe I'm moving the car. I'm showing someone else like driving it. I'm showing like how cool the car actually is. And so you have a different like experience for the end consumer. Because right now the end consumer, it's like, hey, there's YouTube. I'm gonna Google a car. Maybe I like this car, and I'm gonna YouTube it. I'm gonna see what it looks like. But now it's so much easier accessible. It's like, hey, I don't have to YouTube it and then find the closest dealer that potentially has this car. It's in the inventory.
Right.
I shoot the video and I just send it, and then they watch it, and it's in a short form video. Especially now people are familiar with Instagram
Yep.
Reels and TikTok and like that. It's like that 10, 15 seconds, like, wow, that's like, I need to see this car now.
That's right.
And that is the hype factor. And they just click go, and then they're there. And the salesperson knows like, hey, this, like John Smith is coming, and he knows it goes from my video. So John Smith's gonna come and not just like show up for anybody. They're gonna come and say, hey, I saw Ken Ma's video.
That's
He's
right.
the car rep guy here, and I want to go see him because he made this thing look so awesome.
That's
and I
right.
want that experience.
Yeah, and to your
Yeah.
point, to make it look more awesome, I think that will create better quality content. I can see, real investment into high quality videos and potentially real organizations that could spin off of this that really make a large amount of revenue. Could say this is my platform of choice to build my business.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean,
no, it's exciting, but one of the things that you and I talked about, and it's interesting, but you were talking about a lot of this has to do also, we talk about the gig economy, but what about the actual economic situation that we're in? And how this could also potentially help, because I think what you've identified could be a widening delta from a disparity between what individuals make in college, and then how that could help inspire potentially college gig workers.
Yeah. So we're in like a really interesting time here.
Yeah.
So, 7 years ago when I went to college, the average cost of tuition was about $60,000,
Right.
right? And so that's like student loan, like you're gonna pay that off. Now the average starting salary was about 60,000, right? So you can kind of like break even if you're, struggling. Maybe you got a job that's a little bit less, but eventually you can pay off 60,000. It's not
Right.
going to take you 15, 20 years, right? But now you look at today's economy, cost of tuition is drastically increased. The average college tuition is like 120, 150,000 in debt if you take all the loans you don't work through college,
Right.
and the wages are stagnant. It's still $60,000, right? That's the average starting salary. And even now, especially in the Midwest, people still make like 35, 40 out of
Right.
college.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you pay that off? You're literally forever in debt,
Yeah.
right? And so what I've seen as far as an investor trend is less and less people are wanting to go to college. Why? It's because trade school's significantly cheaper. You don't have all this debt, and you can make $60,000 being an electrician, plumber, construction worker, sheet metal. You could do all those similar things.
Yep.
Or you can all do all those things and make a similar amount of pay without debt,
Yep.
right? So what ends up happening is, as more people shift to that, I think eventually they're just going to hit a carrying capacity. Like there's going to be oversaturation of these jobs,
Mhm.
and so that poses a problem, because then the opportunity decreases, right? We haven't felt it yet, but once that happens, I think there's going to be another fork in this road,
Okay.
and that's because of the robotics and automation, right? So when that happens, it's like, okay, you're in an oversaturated carrying capacity, and then you have automation occurring, right? A lot of these jobs will just be wiped out. Like 20% of the jobs gone. If you
Gone.
think about Uber, right? People are trying to make money in their spare time driving Uber. Uber has self-driving cars, Tesla has self-driving cars. Like eventually, like they're not going to need this driver,
Yeah.
right?
They can
And then you also look
automate
at,
they can automate the Uber. They can get it to a
yeah,
place
automate
where
the Uber,
yeah, we don't need a human. Yeah.
automate your accountant. I mean, like even as simple as like, doing your taxes, right? TurboTax pretty much automates like you don't need to go to a tax guy to do your taxes, right? You can do it yourself. So like you're seeing all these trends happen. I think it's only going to get, it's going to get more and more exponential. And so what ends up happening is these people still, they need that side hustle. They need extra cash. They need to make some type of revenue or money. And in my experience, like, you know, what better way is to just like, you're having fun doing something, and now you can actually make revenue from doing it. So like that puts us in a perfect position where if we hit this timing right,
Mhm.
and we nail this sometime within the next 5 years, it's like absolutely critical where anyone, as simple as pulling out your phone, which everyone has a phone nowadays, shooting a video, you can get paid. And I think like that is, I think this is like the absolute perfect time to do that.
Well, I mean, from a simplicity, there's not much of a barrier to entry, right? I got my phone. I like creating videos, and I can make money. I mean, it's a winning recipe. With that said, I think we had talked about, and for those of you that are listening, you may not get to see this, but it really does kind of help to see the visuals. So, did you want to pull those up and kind of show some users what that journey might look like on Area Hike?
Yeah. So I can show you our alpha. Let's pull this up right here. All
And
right,
make
so here's our
sure
alpha.
and walk us through that. So we all know what we're looking at here. So.
Yeah, so in the middle, we have this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you. This is actually our alpha video. Essentially, we have this filter here, which we're gonna change up. So what you see here in the alpha, we're in beta right now, and a lot of these things have been removed around, and it looks really, really clean. So it's like, so here you see a user experience that's very similar to TikTok, but you don't have all the clutter, because we essentially created this widget, which essentially shows and hides all the options. And then we have this filter section where you can essentially toggle between nearby, following, global, or your past history. These are things that TikTok doesn't have. And then we also created a specific search, right? So it's like, what are you looking for? Type it in and you can search. And so what they'll do is it'll pull from our database of our, all the video content we have. And essentially the search engine will say, hey, this is what you like, this is what you're interested in. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this video. So click on it. It shows video. You're like, hey, this bakery place is really cool. I'm with all these really cool people. Like where is this place? I want to eat that food. It looks absolutely delicious, right? So all you have to do is just click on this top right, there's this route button. You click that route button and then it pulls up the map. It says, hey, this is how you go there. And you're like, wow, it's only 10 minutes away. Like, am I gonna like just like route myself or what do I do? Right. So you essentially click the route button and it gives you the option like, hey, if you're on Apple or you're on, on Android, it will essentially say, hey, map yourself, it'll pull up the native map from your phone, and it'll take you there, right? Or you can say, hey, I'm gonna drive my own car and I want to use Waze, right? So we'll essentially say, hey, Waze is the fastest route. Maybe it's 8 minutes instead of 10 because there's no traffic. Or because we know the location of where you want to go and we know your specific location because you use the GPS or location services, you can just say, hey, I want to take an Uber or a Lyft. You click on one of those buttons, and then the Uber driver knows where you are and knows where you want to go. Right? And so that's as simple as it is. You just literally click this one button for route, or essentially it's our go button, and then you just go.
Very, very cool. Very cool. And essentially, this can be used for anything. I mean, we were talking about potentially in the future, you can have events. There could be, hey, I'm at this club and there's a discount on the cover charge, and over for the next hour, come get over here and get yourself routed there. I mean, this is pretty simple.
Yeah. So imagine it was like if you're ticketing things, or like let's say you're like prime example, I was talking with my hair cutter or my barber, and
Yep.
he's like, I depend on cutting people's hair, and sometimes people cancel that 1 hour appointment that I blocked off, right? Well, if they cancel the appointment, I make $0, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah,
I'd be like, my life depends on my rent depends on that.
that's right.
And I said, well, with Area Hype, what we can do is we could essentially under this route button where we have this 897,000, counter,
Right.
that could be a timer, right? So within this hour, you're like, hey, I'm going to drop this Area Hype video. I have time to do a fade, or I have time to do, a quick cut. They drop it, and then people in the area can, like they can see it in the nearby feed search and say, hey, I want to go there, right? So they can essentially book directly with Area Hype. And then based on this mapping logistics, once they book, well, the barber knows like, hey, this person's going to arrive in 10 minutes. I know I still have a 40-minute window before my next appointment, and I just immediately fill it. Right. The same thing happens with clubs. Like, hey, the club is popping. You show the video, and you're like, hey, there's a lot of people here, and then it's like, okay, great, but we're not at full capacity. We want
Right.
to get like another like 60, 100 people.
Right.
Right. So within that window, we could do like happy hour. We could do like whatever special, and we could throw a timer here. Like for the next 30 minutes, we're gonna throw it out. We're gonna pump it out. And if you go to the club or you click on this and get the ticket now, and you pay the cover charge through Area Hype, the $5 or whatever, and then you just show up with the receipt, it's like you get this specific discount, and maybe you get like a free drink. Right?
Sure.
I don't know, whatever the business wants to do,
That's right.
they can have that. It'll drive people there. And then on top of that, it's like once people open, they click share, right? You can essentially share it with your other friends. You can share it with the other like people who are, maybe they signed up. Like we collect that the contact information of like, hey, I went to this last event, right?
Right.
And so now everyone that went to that event, the business has that contact information. They can just blast it out like a DM to like all the people like, hey, you went to our past couple events. We're gonna do another special. We really want to show you appreciation for being a loyal member, right? Like we can figure those types of things out. And I think that bringing people together through real experiences where they're not just like a 5-star review on Yelp or Google.
Yep.
It's like literally this is what's happening now. Now what's happening like 5 years ago where it was like 5 stars. It's like this is what it looks like now. There's no bias. It's literally if it looks good, show up.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it is I think you're spot on with being able to connect the user and the experience to the application, but then also being able to have that business be able to collect that data. And again, I always go back to data, right? Because that's the core of our business. But being able to have that user data of who engaged in their business, essentially that becomes almost like an internal Area Hype CRM almost, right? Basically I can reactivate that network. Hey, you were here for this event or this special or whatever that case may be. Well, maybe I want to reactivate that network because I have this new special going on. So you're essentially, building your Area Hype network.
Yeah. So it's like the perfect way for businesses to actually connect with their consumers and customers in a way that the consumers like they're super comfortable with social media, right? Like
Yeah.
at least the consumers that are always going out and about.
Yep.
Everyone uses Instagram. Like if they don't use Instagram, they're using Snapchat, they're using TikTok, right? And so they're so familiar with that. And so now it's like businesses they're trying to get to that TikTok level where they can kind of bring people in. And so if you can like get something that the consumers are familiar with and they're happy with, right? And then you basically connect those two together.
Yeah.
And then now he's like easy accessibility for DMs. Like what, like why are we pushing ads to Groupon and Groupon's taking 30% of the cut?
That's right.
You don't have to do that. You can
That's right.
literally just say, hey, I know what the consumer wants based on the data, based on whatever, and I just here's this coupon. I don't have to do newspaper ads, right? Like Burger King, McDonald's, whatever, they still throw these newspaper ads for like, buy one, get one free, whatever, hamper. It's like, why don't you digitize that, save the money, not spend another like 3% of your budget on printing all these things. Like you don't need to do that. It's like, yeah, if you're a green activist, you're cutting down trees that shouldn't be cut. And then it's like, who's actually reading those? Like I don't even get the newspaper anymore. My parents still do, but all they do is they just recycle it or they just throw it away. Like there's only maybe like 2 ads that
That's
they
right.
actually use out of the whole month, and they get this weekly.
There's no doubt that the digital transformation is happening. I think this is the pathway into the future. With that said, for those listening, where are you at in the journey? So we've talked in the past. I know you were in that seed stage and you're getting this built and you've made a ton of progress. So really close to getting this to market. So why don't you tell the listeners here? So what's next on the area hype model? When can we get our hands on this, Ken?
Yeah. So yeah, I just showed you the alpha. That's completely built for alpha testing. That is hypex.app. So that works, but the actual SDK for the app to be deployed in the App Store, we did get hit by a couple of like regulatory issues, which we solved most of them. And now we're in a weird spot, right? So the FCC is trying to ban TikTok. TikTok CEO just stepped down. We're in a similar space, but not really the exact same. So basically, Google and Apple said, hey, there's a couple things you need to look out for, terms and agreement, make sure data is protected. We're reviewing all those documents, making sure that we're 100% compliant, so that we're not going to get denied. Because every time you get denied, they kind of like push it back. Being honest, we were delayed like 4 or 5 months already because of all the different compliances. But yeah, the app is pretty much built. We're just right now we're really focused on video compression
Sure.
to really make the experience seamless, so that you can just cycle through the videos really quickly. Making sure location services, there's no broken ins on it. And to everything that I've tested on my own phone, location services works perfectly fine. The mapping function works fine. The last thing that we need to do if we want to put that in before the App Store launch is connecting the Google API, or not Google, connecting the Uber and the Lyft API so that you can immediately book an Uber or Lyft. But self-mapping, that's all done. We just got to do a little video compression, and we're going to try and launch I'm going to say I want to launch sometime before September, because we're going to be, we just won a competitions where we're going to be in the Dominican Republic with Zev Siegel, who's the co-founder of Starbucks. So we're going to be pitching him and a bunch of other investors. So like we need to be in the App Store before then. And so that is our timeline. We're really focusing hard on making sure we can hit this timeline.
No, that's incredible. And congratulations on winning that event. So you're going to be pitching the CEO of Starbucks, you said?
Yeah, the co-founder of Starbucks.
The co-founder.
Right? So yeah, if you go to pitchatthebeach.com and click the Dominican Republic one.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in there. Like I'm super excited. So yeah, they're inviting investors, inviting founders, people who want to pitch, and it's like a 3-day excursion. For us, it was because we won. We're going to be in it. It's paid for. All we have to do is pay for a flight.
Yeah.
And you get a network and actually do activities with investors. Enjoy the time of other founders. It's like a mini vacation, but you're actually doing work at the same time.
That's great.
So if you guys are like savvy on your work, the way you do work, so you can technically file a 8829 and write off as a business expense.
There you
so
go.
That's what we're gonna do. And
that's not bad. Costa Rica, 3 days. You get to work, do your pitch, get in front of the co-founder of Starbucks. That's not bad. So it sounds like for those listening, because I mean, listen, this is super exciting stuff, Ken, and it's early on. You're really obviously big vision here, right? And I can see the capabilities of what this could, the magnitude of what this could be. Are you open to investors? If there's folks listening right now and they're like, hey, it's July 10th, 2022, and I want to get in on this thing before September. Is that open? Are you open to that right now, or where are you guys at in the startup?
Yeah. Currently, right now we're bootstrapping. We will need to raise capital, right? So my goal is once we're in the App Store, we have about 1.3 in commits. If we can show like, hey, we need 1,000 users.
Sure.
But my goal is to raise 3 million. If we raise 3 million, I can get 4 other engineers. And then once we have those 4 engineers, it can automate some of the process. I don't have to do as much engineering. I could do a lot of the actual grunt work where I'm going to be going to the universities and then making sure like, hey, every student knows like this is how you can actually connect what's happening on the campus to people offside the campus. And then we get those first 1,000 users, and then we go to the next university, and we're going to spend about like 3 days every university, like 8 to 12 hours every day, just getting those rapid users. And then once we have like 5,000 users, I think that's when we can start saying we leverage the network effects. We can do some promos and then really just scale up. And that is the goal. I think like everything in the budget, in order for us to do that properly, the 3 million budget, that's what we need. I mean, obviously we could do it with a little less, but you really want to work really fast, and you really want to make sure that if someone else is trying to copy, which 6 months in, I'm guarantee 100% people are trying to copy us.
Yep.
But we want to be faster, and we're going to hit it harder because the network that we have to take this on, we have a very, very strong network based on my background and based on all the people I'm connected with. So all it boils down to is, now that you know how to do it, everything's all figured out. It becomes a money problem.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
money's like the easiest way to like do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, listen, it's every small business challenge, right? You got to have the capital to hit your goals. And I always say this, you're not necessarily in a competition with the technology. You're not necessarily in a competition with your idea. You're in competition with the clock, right?
Yep.
You got to go, and you got to go fast. So, Ken, if I want to get a hold of you and I'm listening, and I want to give you that $3 million check, how do I do it?
Yeah, you can email me. It's ken@areahype.com, and just let me know, and I can send you some documents over. Currently building out our new data room, building out some other stuff, and happy to have a conversation just to show walk you through my thought process, because I have the mindset of a past founder, and I'm also an investor, so I really have I like to say a very, very deep understanding of how this is going as far as trends.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, again, this is a new space, creator economy, and it's something that hasn't been done before. So, let's do it.
I like that, man. I always like creating something new, right? So what you said, that was creator economy. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So we're in a cross between MarTech and creator economy. It's like a really weird cross.
I heard that.
Yeah.
No, listen, man. I like that. I like that a lot. I like the fact that you're carving your own niche. You're solving a problem. You're creating something new. And you're creating a creator gear economy. I love it.
Yep.
Well, Ken, thank you again. Appreciate everything that you're doing. Best of luck. Let's stay in touch. We know we're going to solve some big problems. We're going to solve some data problems together. So thank you again, and appreciate you being on Digital Data Cafe today.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. I'm super excited. Once we launch, I'll let you know. We're going to get hyped.
Super hype, man. Thank you.